Fantasy baseball managers, listen up, you're in a fortunate position right now. While Major League Baseball teams face an annual trade deadline around the end of July, giving them roughly 2/3 of the season to make any crucial moves before the final stretch, we fantasy players, especially those in standard ESPN leagues, have an extra edge. Our trade deadline isn't until August 15th at noon Eastern Time, which means you have about 9 more days to strengthen your roster for that all-important playoff push. But here's where it gets controversial. Are you making the most of this precious time to seriously upgrade your team? If you want my top recommendation for navigating these last critical days, it's simple. Aim high. With about 70% of the MLB season now behind us, standings in rotisserie leagues are solidifying and tough to change drastically at this point. In head-to-head formats, including ESPN's standard 3-week schedule left in the regular season, shifting your position significantly requires players who can deliver a sizable impact. The stakes are higher now than they were in May, when season momentum was more malleable. So how do you identify those game changers? Let's focus on 6 players who have a proven track record of elevating their performances during baseball's final weeks. These aren't bargains. They usually come with a steep price, but if their trade costs seem reasonable and you want to shake things up, pursuing them is your best bet. To assist you, check out current rankings to gauge their fantasy value realistically. First up is Julio Rodriguez, the Seattle Mariners outfielder. Over the last 3 years, in precisely the 48 games that remain for the Mariners this season, he's averaged 3.30 fantasy points per game. That ranks in 7th among all hitters with at least 50 appearances in that period. Especially noteworthy is that J-Rod has been a stronger performer in rotisserie formats compared to point-based leagues, boasting multiple top 30 overall player rater finishes, including in 2025. Recently, he's heated up with 9 homers, 6 steals, and a robust slash line of .295, .340, .648 over his last 21 games. The Mariners themselves have made strategic deadline trades, and their remaining schedule is among the easiest in the league, making Rodriguez a prime candidate to keep your fantasy hopes alive. Next, consider Blake Snell, starting pitcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. This guy turns on the Jets come late season. In his team's final 48 games over the past 3 years, the exact stretch the Dodgers now face, Snell has racked up 490 fantasy points, the highest among pitchers and 3rd overall behind legends Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. Over his career, he's amassed over 1,000 points in this span, ranking him 3rd among pitchers historically. Even after a brief stint on the injured list, Snell made a strong return last Saturday, with a fastball averaging 95 miles per hour, and an impressive 36% whiff rate on his secondary pitches. He's high risk due to his injury history, but also offers a sky-high ceiling, the kind of trade target that could dramatically boost your staff if you're willing to take the gamble. If power hitters are what you crave, Kyle Schwarber of the Philadelphia Phillies should be on your radar. The Phillies' designated hitter has a remarkable history of heating up in September, hitting at least 10 home runs in each of the past 3 Septembers. An elite club that includes only Hank Greenberg and Mark McGwire for consecutive late-season power showings. What's more, Schwarber and Judge are the sole players to surpass 75 fantasy points in each of those final months. His recent surge is impressive, batting .282, .378, .755 with 15 homers since July 1. And he's playing for a big contract this offseason, adding extra motivation. Schwarber's blazing hot streak makes him an essential asset for teams desperate for late-season blasts. Then there's Max Fried, the New York Yankees starter, who might be undervalued right now due to his team's recent struggles and his own shaky performances. He's logged a 5.81 ERA in his last 6 outings. But here's the secret many overlook. Fried's late-season fantasy points per start since the Yankees reached Game 115 are astounding. Second only to Snell for the past 4 years. He helped propel the Atlanta Braves to multiple playoff runs with this clutch performance. And while the Yankees currently linger in a slump, this could be your opportunity to snag him relatively cheaply before he finds his form. Matt Olson, first baseman for the Atlanta Braves, is another Mr. September of fantasy baseball. Over the last 4 years, he collected 616 fantasy points in his team's final 50 games, ranking third behind Judge and Juan Soto. Although this season's playoff prospects for the Braves look dim, Olson hasn't historically let his team's position dampen his competitive fire in late-season stretches. For example, in 2017, 2021, and 2024, regardless of playoff status, Olson averaged over 3 fantasy points per game down the stretch. Don't overlook the possibility that the Braves' weaker standing this year might allow you to acquire Olson at a discount. Finally, Zach Gallen, starting pitcher for the Arizona Diamondbacks, is something of a wild card on this list. Similar to Olson, Gallen's team is also a playoff long shot. Unlike Olson, Gallen hasn't had a great season so far, with a modest 7.48 fantasy points per start that ranks near the bottom among qualified pitchers. This low valuation, however, might play to your advantage, as Gallen's late-season history is strong. From 2022 to 2024, he notched 424 fantasy points in the final 48 games of each season, the third best mark among pitchers behind Snell and Garrett Cole. Plus, with free agency on the horizon, Gallen has added incentive to showcase his best ball down the stretch. And, in case you're wondering about the 6 hitters who've outperformed Julio Rodriguez's late-season scoring average, they are Ronald Acuna Jr. at the top, with 3.67 points per game, followed closely by Shohei Ohtani, 3.59, Aaron Judge, 3.55, Alex Bregman, 3.37, Yordan Alvarez, 3.37, and Mookie Betts, 3.31. Here's a question to leave you thinking. With so many proven late-season performers available, are you taking enough risks to shake up your standings, or is playing it safe slowly killing your playoff dreams? Share your thoughts. Do you think aiming high with these costly stars is worth it, or does the risk outweigh the reward? The fantasy baseball community would love to hear your take.